Apples require full sun to remain healthy and produce fruit on a regular basis. Full sun would be a location receiving more than 8 hours of light per day. This results in better flower production, higher yields, less disease, higher quality fruit, and longer fruit storage life. Apples prefer to have a degree of protection from winds, especially from the west and northwest, the prevailing winds in winter, which helps reduce winter injury. Lower areas in the topography, as shown in the picture, tend to be a pooling place for cold air during the winter and can lead to crop loss in the spring due to flower damage from frost. Depending on the size and topography of your yard or acreage, you may also encounter different exposures that face primarily a certain direction. Apples should not be planted on a south-facing slope, which can cause too much warming in the wintertime and the development of conditions such as what's known as winter sunscald. An eastern-facing slope is perhaps the best compromise, providing a balance of light exposure but also protection from extremes in temperature. Speaking of extremes, if you decide to plant a dwarf tree, do not plant it up close on the south side of your house, thinking that it will be protected. The extremes of day and night temperatures in this location will surely kill your apple tree. It could be at least 80 degrees right up near the house, even on a relatively cold, sunny winter day. And then at night, of course, it's going to get just as cold as the surrounding area. So these apple trees and any other herbaceous perennials even do not do well on the south side of the house. One of the most important aspects of growing any crop, and that includes fruit trees and apples, are soils. And this is just a diagram to show you how soil scientists decide what actual kind of specific soil type you are working with. Although apples grow in a wide range of soils, the extreme types of sand and clay change how you grow your apples and what you can expect you will need to compensate for and prioritize. If you look at the differences between the two extremes of sand and clay, sands are almost always going to have an increased soil temperature. They cause earlier bloom. They also cause earlier harvest. Moderate yields because there's too many fluctuations in moisture and temperature. Typically, though, on the good side, decreased disease, primarily root diseases. Most fruit crops, and that includes all fruit trees, do better in a soil with good water drainage and good oxygen content. The increased nutritional and water level fluctuations mean that you're going to have to water more frequently. You're going to have to fertilize more frequently, but less at a time. And sands, even though they have large particles, tend to erode much more due to wind and water than will a clay soil. If we look at clay soils, there are benefits and disadvantages. The clays have decreased soil temperature. They produce a later crop. Clay soils can allow a tree to produce heavy yields because of the more uniform availability of water and nutrients. Nutritional and water level fluctuations then are less. So when you look at it from a watering and fertilizing standpoint, we water and fertilize less often, but more at a time. And with clay soils having smaller particles, the more you walk, the more there is equipment that's run in between the trees, the more likely they are to compact and cause some problems with the apple tree roots, especially if you're running heavier equipment and do that when the soils are typically quite wet. The best soil type is a sandy loam to loamy sand with a good subsoil drainage. Apples can develop root diseases if planted in poorly drained sites. In order to determine your soil type and nutritional recommendations, a soil test must be taken. Once the results are back, you can confidently adjust nutrient levels and amend the soil based on professional recommendations.